Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching tonight. You Changed My Life show. Tonight, I'm very, very pleased to have with me Ty Cohen. Ty Cohen is a business consultant. He's an internet marketer. He is a radio personality, a personal development coach, and a celebrity from North Carolina, the United States. So how are you, Ty?
I'm doing awesome, Patrick. Especially since you just threw the celebrity thing in there. I don't know about. I'll greatly take that. I appreciate it.
Oh, yes, you're a celebrity to me.
All right. It's like someone saying, "Hey, young man," and I'm like, "Hey, repeat that again, young man. I got to record that part."
Yes, to me, a great celebrity, and I admire you and I admire your work. I admire your energy and your spirit. And that's why I'm pleased to welcome you tonight on the show. And I've been looking forward to this show and catching up with you and you sharing who you are to my viewers tonight. So could you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, so I'm Ty Cohen, North Carolina is where I live now. Actually from Bridgeport, Connecticut, born and raised, and husband, father of four. I've got two boys, two girls, one of which, my youngest girl right now, is actually competing or participating in a beauty pageant here in North Carolina, Miss North Carolina. And along with having a few businesses, having children, right, can be just as rewarding, just as challenging, and just as sleep depriving as anything. So.
Oh, yes, especially when they're very young. But now that given they're a bit older, I guess I thought it becomes easier with older children.
Yeah. Do you have any, Patrick?
Yes, I do. I do have two. One boy is 4 years old and the girl is 8.
Okay. All right. So you're starting out. So there you go. So you're in a good position. That's a great age. I love it.
And you look younger than me. That's the
I don't know. Maybe I started younger. Maybe that's it.
Oh, is it? Okay. So what do you do? Could you tell us more about your work and your business and how? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do a few things. So my passion is helping people to become the best person that they can be. So it's my upbringing was not the best. And I think that if I was able to do it, and then if other individuals that I see that have done different things, we all have different levels of greatness within ourselves, right? So my passion is being able to help people bring that out. Whether it's you want to be the best janitor, you want to be the best mom, the best dad, the best business owner, right? The best coach, the best mentor. I think we all have these qualities that are hidden within us and like we don't even realize it. So one of the things that I do is help people reach their passions through several formats. And one is I have a program called Kindle Publishing, Kindle Cash Flow. And we teach people how to self-publish their own books on Amazon's Kindle Direct Publishing platform. And I find that it's an awesome outlet because it allows, publishing a book allows you to get you out of you, right? So meaning what you have in here and getting it out into a format where you can share it with the world. So that's one of the things that I do there. And I love it. I've been doing it for about a decade now.
Wow, that's inspiring. Writing a book, as you said, and publishing is a very, very transforming process. I do remember writing my first book. It took me 5 years to do that. The second one took me around 6 months. But the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And the quicker you become transformed. And as you and me know, writing this book, as I was sharing with you earlier on, it has transformed my life. It has changed my life. It has helped me look at things in a different way, as opposed to how I used to see them. I've met great people. I've looked at different stories. So, yes, looking at your story published in this book, and you're the co-author of this book, Let's Change Our Lives. You said at one moment that you didn't know you were poor. Could you tell us more about your background and how the poverty element and how you became aware that you're poor?
Yep. So I think that sometimes when we're in the middle of it, we don't realize where we're at, right? So, man, we grew up. I have 7 brothers and sisters total. So many of us, sometimes I have to think about it. So 2 sisters, and then 5 brothers. And we grew up in Bridgeport, Connecticut, which at the time was one of the most impoverished areas, very crime-ridden. It was just not the best place to grow up. But we were happy, right? So we were always happy and content. And I got my first job when I was 14. It was working at Walgreens Pharmacy. It was actually the only job that I've ever held in my life. I developed a good bond. I had a great boss at the time, a guy by the name of Vinny Cito. And he lived on the other side of the tracks. As a matter of fact, he lived in an area called Fairfield, Connecticut. And I lived in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And probably about the age of 17 or so, 16, 17, I can't remember exactly, he invited me to his wedding. He was getting married. So I go out to his wedding, and I mean, it was just lavish. First, we go to his house. His house was amazing, probably about 7 times the size of the house that I had grown up in. The wedding hall was amazing. And it was like, I had known that people lived this way before, but it was the first time I actually had firsthand experience with it. And at that point, I made the decision to literally not only get out of an element that I was raised in, that I was currently living in. And at this time, I'm 16 or 17 years old, right? Not knowing how to do it. But I knew that, geez, there's another way of life. I'm going to move out of this area. And not only am I going to do that, but I'm also going to move my family out of it. And not only that, but I'm going to be living much better than what I currently see for my boss's circumstances. So that was my first realization. Like, I'm poor. Like, holy cow. Like, you know what I mean? So I had something to compare my life to.
Oh, yes. And that's mostly how most of us live our lives. We don't know what we don't know.
Absolutely.
We are limited by our circumstances. We think this is all there is. But the moment you move in Africa, I come from Uganda. In Africa, we have a proverb which says that a child who does not visit others thinks that his or her mom is the best cook. Not until you leave and go and eat someone else's food, then you'll be able to realize, oh, actually, my mom could do better.
Right.
Yes.
Now, you got to be careful with that if you're married, though, right? So if you're married, you don't want to go in and eat someone else's food, and then you come back home and say to your wife, oh, my God, did you see how good her food tastes? Like, that could get you in trouble there.
Oh, yes, you get in trouble. But the main message was that if we don't leave our comfort zones,
yes,
and
absolutely,
step into something that's unknown to us, then we won't know that we need to change. As someone says, you can't see the picture when you're in the frame. The moment you come out of the frame, then you're able to say, oh, actually, I think I could do better. I think it could become better. That's where the transformation starts.
And I think that we also need to have, I've got a mastermind that I host with a couple of guys, young guys that I mentor. And one of the things I was sharing with them this morning was that you should always be conscious of what phase of life you're in right now. I think there's several phases of life. So you have phases where you're continuously you're learning, right? And you're growing. Okay. So you may be consuming, you may be learning, you might be growing. And then there's other phases where you're implementing, because you can't continue to grow, right? You can't just study. You can continue to grow, but you can't just study. So I think there comes a point where you have to start to take what you've learned and start to implement it. And then there's phases where you're relaxing a bit, right? And so we have different phases, and I think just being consciously aware of where we are helps us get to the next level. One of the things that I've been doing over the last 6 months is continuously challenging myself, right, to learn about things other than what I've conditionally been interested in. So I'm a big fan of personal development, but I may not be a big fan of science. So pushing myself to read more about metaphysics or just other aspects of science, because you never know what you might enjoy, right? It's just like food. You never know what you might enjoy unless you give it a chance. So as part of that, what my wife and I have done with our 4 children is and I'm grateful to be able to do this, is we've taken them literally across the planet. We've taken them everywhere, from Italy to Thailand. We spent a month in Thailand. We're always in the Caribbean to the UK, just so that they can experience other cultures, number one. They can experience different languages, number two. They can experience different foods, and they can see that there's life way beyond where we currently live right here in Raleigh, North Carolina. Right. So it starts to, I think travel opens up our level of awareness, just as it did for me, traveling just literally 20 minutes away from where I grew up in Bridgeport, Connecticut, to Fairfield County. That 20 minutes made a huge difference, a huge impact in my life.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, definitely. So, and that's where it comes to the importance of knowledge. As Les Brown says, he keeps saying, knowledge is a new currency. So the moment you possess knowledge, you have the power to change your life. You have the power to change the lives of others. You have the power to change the world. So you talked about the challenges growing up in poverty and suddenly realizing that life could be different. And how did your health circumstances come into the mix? Yes.
Yep. So I mentioned having a total of there being 7 of us, right? So 2 sisters and then myself and my brothers. So sickle cell anemia is something that I was born with, the disease. Sickle cell anemia disease, then there's sickle cell anemia trait. So just myself and my sister out of all of us were born with sickle cell disease, right? So I literally spent, I would say, most of my younger years being really confined in a way, because I would get sick all the time. I mean, I would get sick to the point where, and I don't know if you or your audience, I'm pretty sure you've heard of, well, you come from Uganda, right? So sickle cell anemia, you're very aware of it. So I would literally spend weeks in a hospital, right? So 3 weeks, 4 weeks in the hospital, in the bed. My mom would not allow me to go out and have snowball fights or build snowmen, right, when it snowed, because just the cold would trigger a sickle cell anemia crisis. And then by the same token, being in extreme heat, the summers in Connecticut get hot, that could trigger a sickle cell anemia crisis. Stress, not eating right, intake of too much caffeine, lack of oxygen. I mean, there's so many different things, right? So I really lived a sheltered childhood to a degree, where I spent a lot of my, like I said, a lot of my life being sick. Luckily for me, my mom understood the importance of the mind, and how if you have control of your mind and if you have self-discipline, then that's the first foundation there. There's so much that you can do. So with that said, my mom she never went to college, right? So not a very traditionally educated person, but she has a ton of common sense. So she knew that if I could get my son to read while he's in the hospital, it would help take his mind off of the situation that he was in. So that I developed a love for reading, right? Reading anything that I could get my hands on, the newspapers, books, comic books, etc. So having that obstacle of growing up with sickle cell anemia and in the neighborhood that I grew up with, right, where there was crime, there was drugs, there was a lot of poverty there, it was like a double whammy. So sometimes when you have obstacles like that, it becomes even harder for you to say, okay, how can I get out of this? You could say either I get out of this or I succumb to it and I just deal with the circumstances, right? So it became another obstacle for me up until I really got exposed to personal development. And part of that was just being exposed to Les Brown's book. The first time I had ever gotten exposed to personal development was pretty much by accident, to be honest with you. And maybe we'll talk about that later on during the show or whenever you want.
Yeah, I remember that. Yes.
So, go ahead.
Yes. So growing up, you had lots of things working against you. The environment working against you in terms of the way the setup of the area you grew up, in terms of crime and socioeconomic circumstances, including poverty. and then the health was as well against you in terms of the disease that you grew up with and you continue to live with today. So looking at you today, will it be, I feel like saying that it's a miracle?
Would I say it's a miracle?
Yes.
I think it's a combination of determination,
Mm-hmm.
exposure,
Mm-hmm.
and willingness.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because sometimes you can have the determination. We need the mixture sometimes. You can have the determination, but you don't know where to start. There's so many people that say, man, I want to change my life circumstances, but they don't know where to start. I think it becomes easier now that we have the internet and we have Google and we have YouTube. We have so many resources. When I first started my first business, I was 20 years old, 20 years old. And I had to take the bus or walk to the library, right? So I didn't have Google or YouTube, but I think it's easier now. The knowledge, right? So meaning the information here at our disposal, and then the willpower to take advantage of the knowledge that we have and say, I'm going to watch less TV and I'm going to study a little bit more, or I'm going to party a bit less or not at all and study a little bit more. So I think sometimes we need to be at the right place at the right time, and then we also need to be prepared, right? Have you ever heard the saying, preparation works best when you are prepared for the opportunity that comes along?
Yes, and someone says preparation is the highest form of faith. You need to be prepared in a time that when the opportunities come, so you're ready.
Boom.
You know, the opportunity
Absolutely.
to work out, what do I do now?
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, you said to me, you reached out to me earlier today, and
Yes.
you said, Ty, let's do this interview. And we were
Yeah.
talking about doing it tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to myself, I said to my wife, I said, you know what? We were going to go out for dinner. And I said, sweetheart, here's the thing. I need to catch this guy, Patrick, right now, because tomorrow he may not be around. He may be busy. He's a busy guy. He may have something else going on. He may not be interested. Let me reach back out to Patrick and see if he can do this interview today. Yes. Right? So taking advantage of the opportunity, and hopefully you said yes. Thankfully you said yes. But I think you're right. I think it depends on just being ready at all times, because you never know when the opportunity is gonna cross your path. And I also think that I think that we should never try to be too perfect with anything, because sometimes with being too perfect with anything, we end up missing out on opportunities because we say to ourselves, I'm not ready yet. Mm-hmm. And in turn, we might miss out on something. Whereas if we jump and learn on our way down, then we open ourselves to a lot more.
Sure. And that brings me to that ride in the back of your dad's car, because I believe that you took the opportunity sitting at the back of the car and looking at the things that were there, and then all of a sudden getting interested in that book that eventually went on to change your life. Could you tell about that moment when you came across that book in that car?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have to give thanks to my mom. And like I said, you know, part of her helping me deal with having sickle cell anemia is was exposing me to reading, right? Mm-hmm. So getting me used to reading so much. So that's the first step. Had I not had an interest in just reading, and not just reading, but being able to just willing to consume everything that comes across my path. When I saw the book in the back of my dad's car, I may not have recognized it. I may not have had the willingness to pick it up. You know what I mean? Yes. So had I not had a love for reading, I could have saw the book and said, oh, it's another book. Oh, that's a nice book, and not picked it up. So my mom and my dad had separated, just to take you back for a circle. And my dad was always in my life. He would come by, although they were separated, he would always come by Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. He always worked 2 and 3 jobs, always blue-collar jobs, so he was always busy. But he would always come by our house Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. Friday to bring us money, right, after he got paid. And on Sundays to pick me and my brother Mike up to take us to church with him. Mm-hmm. All right. A very religious guy, very God-fearing guy. And so one day we were going to church, my brother Mike and I. And my dad had one of these old Volkswagen Beetles, the round ones from the like 70s. And he had about 2 or 3 of these things. And at any given moment, one would work and the other one wouldn't work. So he'd switch off different cars. So we're riding back from the church. And as we're riding back, I see this book in my dad's car. And it's Les Brown's book, right? So I start to pick it up. Now, we had about a 20-minute drive from the church to my house. So that 20 minutes, I'm fumbling through it, and I had never seen or read anything like this before. Not only were there phrases like, if you can look up, you can get up, right? And never let someone else's opinion of you become your reality.
Yeah.
And that one phrase right there was crucial for me, because literally 6 months prior to reading this book, I was in the hospital. I was in Yale New Haven Hospital. I was having a sickle cell anemia crisis. And I overheard my mom and my doctor talking outside of my hospital door. And the doctor said to my mom, you shouldn't expect your son Ty to live long, because this disease is going to kill him. So me reading Les Brown and reading those words, never let someone else's opinion of you become your reality. I said, you know what? Maybe I'm not going to die from this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I said, as a matter of fact, I know I'm not going to die from this thing at an early age. I know that this is me living and growing up in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and in this environment, seeing my friends go to jail, seeing a lot of my friends get killed. I know that that's not going to be my outcome. I didn't know how. At 17, you barely know how you're going to, get to school the next day. But I just knew that that was not going to be my reality. I had never heard anything like it before. I had never read personal development before, and I had never seen a message like this coming from someone that looked like me, right? Brown skin, hair like mine, and I just felt good, right? So the book was kind of long. We pull up to my house, and I hadn't finished it, but I knew that I had to finish this book. And I didn't want to ask my dad for it, even though I don't know what was going through my head, but my dad would have given me anything. But I didn't want to ask him. So I did the next best thing. I did what any 17-year-old would do. What do you think that was? I stole the book.
You stole the book. You stole the book. You stole the book without becoming a thief. Yes.
Well, I stole the book I actually, yeah. And it's one of those moments where you're proud of it, but you're not so proud of it, right? Les Brown says it's like seeing someone you hate drive off a cliff, but not in your car. Right? So I took the book home, and I literally went in the room. My brother Mike and I, we shared a room. I went in the room. I jumped on the bed, and I read this entire thing. Literally, I stayed up to about 2:00 that night reading it, and I woke up the next morning like a different person. I mean, it was like me shedding my skin. A lizard or a snake is just sheds. I just felt empowered the next day, and I'm getting goosebumps right now just thinking about it, because it was that much of a pivotal point in my life. That was one of the big turning points in my life for me, and it was just good, man. It was awesome. So that was it.
Yeah, that was a great moment. I love it, and that's why I put your story to be the very first one in this.
You said we're gonna put the thief at the very beginning here.
Beginning of it, yes, so that people know the kind of transformation, the pivotal point, something that just one moment you would have missed that moment. You would have missed it if you're not attentive. In other words, there are lots of opportunities that are presented us, but if we can't identify those opportunities and make the best out of those opportunities, then we miss the growth. We miss the transformation.
Yeah. Hey, Patrick, and oh, sorry to cut you off.
Yes.
The other thing I just want to mention is, and I've thought about this a lot. Sometimes there's divineness that happens. Like there's things that happen and we can't even explain why it's happened. Mm-hmm. Like my dad, as I told you, he was a blue collar worker. He was his main job was being a construction worker, right? So building buildings and things like that. His secondary jobs was working as a security guard and then as a taxi driver. He ended up eventually getting shot and killed. Someone tried to rob him as he was driving taxi one night. But so I say that to say my dad, I had never known him to have an interest in entrepreneurship. I had never known him to have an interest in anything on the personal development side. So I still wonder to this day, how did that book get in the backseat of his car? Was it something that he picked up? Maybe there was a change that he was going through. Maybe someone left it there. Maybe divine circumstances put it there. Do you know? You know what I'm saying? So sometimes we can't even try to figure things out. We just go with it. Like if I had sat there that day and said, "What the heck is this book doing in my dad's car?" Right? Because I didn't even have a taste of entrepreneurship at that time. I had never been turned on to personal development at that time. But I was open enough. I think being open enough, and then also not trying to be too smart to the point where we get in our own way. We try to overanalyze. We overcomplicate things. But just being open enough, because that one moment there has in a way helped me to literally make millions and millions and millions of dollars. Just that starting point, right? From multiple businesses over the years. And it's just a reflection point for me. I always go back to it, and I'm always just grateful for that moment right there. Right. So
wow, what a great moment. And that brings me to the next part of this show. Just ladies and gentlemen, in case you've just joined us, tonight I'm talking to Ty Cohen. Ty Cohen is an internet entrepreneur. He's a personal development coach. He is a radio personality. And importantly, he's there to help us become the best versions of ourselves. So how can you help us? Looking at your experience, what you've gone through, but importantly, grown through. You haven't just gone through the circumstances, but each of those circumstances has helped you to grow to the next level. So how can you help us?
So I think right now, the biggest thing that I can share and that I've continued to share with people is to never believe that where you've come from or where you currently are is it for you. Is it for you? We're always constantly going through a metamorphosis. We're always constantly changing. Just 6 months from now, we could be someone that's totally different. Totally different. And a year from now, Jim Rohn says it, we could totally revolutionize the whole thing, right? We could be someone that's totally different. So the individual that I was when I was 17 and 18 years old, because I didn't have total belief. I didn't have total confidence. I thought that my life would not, I honestly, there was a point in my life where I thought that I would not live past the age of 21 because I saw so many of my friends dying, right? Due to self-destructiveness and the environment that I was growing up in. And then the double whammy of me having sickle cell anemia and hearing an authority figure like my doctor declare that I wouldn't live long, right? So I'm thinking either one of these things is going to take me out. Sickle cell anemia, right? Or being part of this environment that I'm in. So had I allowed those to be definitive for me, then I wouldn't be here talking to you guys. I wouldn't have had the opportunity to be part of this amazing book that you have here. So I think that, again, looking at where we are right now and saying, yes, okay, this is not where I want to be, but I know that it is not where I have to end up. That's the first part of it right there. That's the biggest thing. I see some of the people that are the most successful, and I'm sure you see this. You've interviewed some awesome people here, right?
Yes.
They all have similar mindsets.
True.
There's similarities in the way that people think. And if you can get around certain people and adopt the way that they think, and even just study some of the things that they do and why they do it, then you give yourself this advantage. I think so the biggest thing, and I was telling one of the individuals that I'm mentoring today, he's 23, he's just turned 24 today, right? And I told him, I said, your biggest assets will be, number one, understanding the power that you have within you. So having faith, right? So having faith in who you believe in, right? And then most importantly, having faith in yourself and understanding the power of a mind and understanding the power of self-discipline and understanding the power of continuous action, right? Both ways, whether we continuously do something for the good or we continuously do something for the bad, right? And if we skip out on a moment, that one moment, right, tells our inner selves that, okay, we've skipped out on this one moment, whether it's working out, whether it's not working on our business, whether it's not being a good father, whether it's not being a great husband, and we can do it again. But if we continuously are consciously aware of making sure that we do that stuff on a regular basis, then we tend to build that muscle. I was talking to my son Tyler today. Actually, I like to, if you don't mind, I like to bring him in real quick.
Oh, yes,
my 14-year-old.
Yeah.
All right, so he's in the other room, so we'll see if he just got my my message there. My dad yelled. So he plays basketball and he plays football right now. So he's been having some issues with self-confidence as far as shooting. And the last couple of days he's been amazing with his shots. And I told him, I said, listen, Tyler, yeah? Come into my office for a second. I want to introduce you to someone.
Lovely.
Yeah. Come into my office right now. I want to introduce you to someone really quickly. All right. So I told him, listen, confidence is a muscle.
Yes.
The more we do this stuff, Greg, how are you? All right. The more we do this stuff, the more our confidence muscle grows. It's like working out every day, right? The more we do interviews like this, the more confident we get with it. The first time you do one and you're totally all over the place. You're nervous as heck. So this is my king. I call him King Tyler right here.
Hello, King Tyler. Great to see you. How are you?
Good.
Yes. How are you?
Good.
You're feeling great today.
Yeah.
Tell us about you. What do you do? What is your passion?
I like to play football and basketball, and I'm 14.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what inspires you to do that?
Because I want to make it to like the NBA or the NFL.
Great dream, and definitely that dream will come true. You need to live your dreams like your dad.
Yeah.
Yes. Just quickly before you go, how does your dad inspire you to become the best of you?
Because he works hard.
Works hard. So hard work is one of the qualities your dad has passed on to you. Wow, that's great. Lovely. So you've continued working hard like that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for being who you are, and great to see you today.
All right, good to see you too.
And all the best with football and basketball, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. King Taylor. Lovely. Yes.
So that's one of the four that we have, and I call him King Tyler for a reason, because I think that the way we address people, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, especially children, they start to adapt it. Right. My older sister Rhonda was very smart with that. She was very, very smart with that. So when I was younger, she would put these empowering words in my head. Right. And I didn't really get it until I was much older. And I look back and I say, oh my God, that's what she was doing. Right. So we addressed our kids the right way. Hey, my daughter's Summer. I call her Princess Summer. Or I call her Summer the Engineer. Right? Because she likes playing with Lego blocks. And I tell her, you can be an engineer. You can own an engineering company. I mean, there's some amazing things that you could do. And you're going to do some things that are going to change the world for the positive. So we have to be very intentional with it and very descriptive with it. Because I could say you're going to change the world, right? But I have to include the positive part in there, because she could change the world and be the next Hitler who changed the world in a different way. Right? So I think being very intentional and very positive with it. But I mean, that's my other mission there, is just making sure that my children see something that helps them to be better people as well, and then contribute to the world in a better way. That's it. Adania says words matter and can change lives. I totally agree with you. Absolutely.
Yes.
Right. No, I love this platform. I'm having a ball right here. You just made my day, Patrick.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for joining. You Changed My Life show. This show is about anyone who changed anyone. So it's called You Changed My Life show. So it could be a place. It could be a human being. It could be an event. So there are lots of things that change us. It could be words. I say it could be just one word. You have greatness within you that could change completely the perspective and the trajectory of someone's life. And that's what we're about. And listening to you before, I didn't know that part of you as a parent. You're giving me a lot of parenting skills here.
There you go. See, there you go. Hey, when you have 4 of them, you learn as you go. So you learn as you go, and you get some. My older ones have taught me a lot of lessons, right? So I said, okay, maybe I'll write a book like Dr. Spock.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. So coming back to our viewers, and the viewers that know they've been following you, they know you from your business. Some of them might already know you already, but those who don't know you yet, how can you help them? What kind of products do you have out there that we can easily tap into and create our best lives?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a product called Kindle Cashflow. You can actually go to kindlecashflow.com, and I've got a 90-minute, almost 2 hours, a 90-minute training session that's up there that teaches you how to find what you're passionate about and get that out and turn it into a book, and then being able to market and sell that book on Amazon's Kindle Direct Publishing platform, which I've taught this process to well over 100,000 people, have over 7,000 students. We've got a Facebook group called kindlecashflow.com. And it's a great way. If there's anyone who has a story, and almost all of us have a story. Mm-hmm. Every single person I've come across has a story of some sort, whether it's a story of things that they're really proud of, or a story of things that they're not so proud of, or maybe it's just things that they're interested in, right? That they have some specialized skill in. Mm-hmm. You can go in and you can publish a book, and it doesn't have to be a long book. It could be something that's even shorter. You know, many of my students, they publish books that are 40, 50 pages, but it's a way for them to get it out there and then contribute to just contribute to the planet in an overall way. So that's one of the things that I do. And I teach a lot of online marketing skills. So basically teaching people how to start online businesses, how to take what they're passionate about, how to take what they have an interest in, how to take something that they may be super knowledgeable in, and then package that up and put it into some type of a course, and then present it to, individuals that are interested in it. So whoever that marketplace is. So I've got a program called 6 Figure Success Academy that I'm actually releasing in 2 more weeks. So if you're interested in getting more information on that, you can go to 6figuresuccessacademy.com. And I would love if everyone followed me on Facebook. I just love being able to interact and answer questions and just talk to people.
Oh, thanks so much. That's brilliant and that's inspiring. It has been a pleasure hosting you tonight. And we look forward to definitely doing more business with you and getting to know you and to working with you and helping each other grow as human beings, and definitely making this world and leaving it a better place than we found it. Yeah. So how... You remember when I contacted you in terms of being a co-author in this book?
Yes.
How did you feel? And you've seen your story now published in this book. First of all, as paperback, and very soon it will be on Kindle. There you go.
We got to get it on Kindle.
Yes. Yeah. You need to get on your platform there. Definitely. Right.
Yeah. I was just really pleased. I was really, really thrilled. I've written a few books before on other subjects many years ago. A lot of them are based on, like I said, other subjects. And I've also been a co-author in 2 or 3 other books. But this is the first one where I've been a co-author in something that I'm extremely passionate about. And that is being able to look at someone's story and see how they've come from this place and have gotten to this place, or seeing how they've done something that positively impacts people. So this one I was really just really humbled to be part of. So when you asked me, it was awesome. I have a few mutual friends who are very close to Les Brown. I don't know if you know Alicia and Lorette Little.
Yes, Alicia.
Yep, they work very closely with Les Brown. And I was actually in a mastermind with Les Brown maybe about, I want to say 9 or 10 years ago, where we would meet up in Vegas. He never showed because every time we had a mastermind, he actually ended up getting a speaking engagement. So it was like 6 of us. It was supposed to be me, Les Brown, Kevin Trudeau, guy by the name of Stephen Pierce, who's actually Alicia Little's former husband, and just a few other guys. So that's that. But yeah, I was tickled to death. Really, really humbled here. I appreciate you inviting me.
Thank you very much for sharing your story tonight, and importantly, thank you very much for allowing me to get your story into this great book. I'm becoming a co-author. So anyone who is interested in knowing Ty Cohen's full story and how it can help you on your journey, you need to connect and look up this book on Amazon, on my website, patrickipsinger.com. But importantly, this is just a beginning. So if you feel connected with Ty as you watch now or later, get in touch. He is very available online, and that's how I came to know him, and we communicate online easily. And thank you very much for your availability as well as spending this quality time. It's almost 1 hour. I can't believe it.
It seems like it was 10 minutes.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yes.
So, hey, Patrick, I really appreciate it.
Yes.
I've got a saying, too. It's called each one, teach one. So whatever you have out there, pass it on. Share it with someone else. You never know how you'll impact someone, and you never know when someone's looking, right? You never know when someone's watching, when someone's looking. So do what you can to share and continue to pass it on. Each one, teach one.
Thank you very much for that word of wisdom. And is there anything else you want to say to the audience, or just say goodbye?
That's it. That's about it. Buy Patrick's book. Follow me on Facebook, Ty Cohen, Tycohen.
Thank you very much, Ty, and have a great evening. I hope you're going to be able to go out still because you've given up your time and your family time to be with us. Hopefully, it's time to say bye, and thank you very much for joining us this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.